So today we're going to be making meat pies. Love these. They're so easy to make. Let's get started. So what you're going to need is you're going to need 500 grams of minced beef. You're going to need 1 onion, which has been diced, 2 teaspoons of black pepper crushed, 2 teaspoons of corn flour, which I make into a slurry with a bit of water, and then you're going to need 250 mils or 1 cup of beef stock. And that's what we need to make the filling. So let's get a pan and let's get started. So I'm going to add a little bit of oil to a pan here and just let it heat up, about a tablespoon. And then what I'm going to do to that is I'm going to add the onions. What I like to do with the onions when I put them in, I like to add a little bit of salt. That just promotes drawing out the moisture from the onion, and it's, in a way, it helps them with browning and caramelizing. Things won't brown if there's water in them. So leave them for a few minutes, stir them around until they become translucent. See, they've just got that tiny little bit of browning on them. And at this point, we're good to actually add in the beef. So reminder, this is 500 grams of minced beef. We are making meat pies. So I've used this nice little utensil I got online. It just helps to break the meat up, makes it really easy so they're all small pieces. And once you've done that, then just let it cook down. And the aim is, with all the juice that comes out of the meat, we're aiming to let that draw down until there's virtually nothing left, and then we can add our beef stock with my wooden spoon. In it goes. Stir that around and let it come back to a boil. Then we can add our corn flour slurry. Now what this does is it will thicken it up, make it like a gravy, and you've got the beef stock there, and there's a couple of things you can do to promote some extra flavour, some umami as they call it. You can use a little bit of soy sauce, or even if you've got gravy mix, you can add a bit of that too. It's like, anything that's in your cupboard is going to help you along with the flavour. Okay, this is going to be a hot water crust pastry, really, really easy and simple to make. So what you're going to need is 500 grams of plain flour. You're going to need 1 cup of water. You're going to need a teaspoon of salt and 125 grams of lard and 125 grams of butter. And you can also use vegetable shortening. So into a pot, put your water, and then add your butter and your lard or your vegetable shortening, whatever it is you're going to use. But those weights are necessary. So once you've got that in there, this is going to come to a boil. And what we're going to do is we're going to take it off the stove. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm making a well in the center of the bowl. And into that, I'm going to pour the mixture. Now, this is a great pastry. It's very versatile, and when you make it like this, it'll last in the fridge for a good while. So here we go. So I'm pouring that in, and then what I'm going to use is I'm actually going to get a spatula, and I'm just going to fold it around. It's way too hot to put your hands in there at the moment because there's boiling liquid. But what we're wanting to do is incorporate all of the water and fat into the flour so that there's no dry spots left. And so we just work that through, and you can see it's like already it's come together pretty closely. And then I use my bench scraper at this point just to grab any of the last vestiges of any dry flour. Okay, now as you can see here, it's all ready to go. And now what I like to do at this point is clear my bench. So I put it out, and now I'm just going to knead it for a little bit just to bring it together. You can see it's really, really soft and pliable. Don't be worried about how it feels. Like you go, oh, is this too soft? Is it not going to work? It will work fine. Guaranteed. It will not be a problem. All right, so here I'm going to cut it, and I'm sort of eyeballing it. I want it like, 2/3, 1/3. And I'm going to be using 1 for the bases and 1 part for the lids. Now, it's really important at this point, after you've sort of put them together, is you want to flatten them into a bit of a disc. And we're going to wrap them in cling film, and then what we're going to do is put them in the fridge and just let them sit for about half an hour. It's really important to do this part, just to let the dough rest, and then it will promote gluten, and also it's not going to make the pastry what we call short. So it means it's not going to crumble too much. Mind you, with the amount of fat we've got in there, you know, it's going to be a sort of shorter pastry, but it will still hold its form when it bakes. And that's really what you're wanting. Okay, so now we're going to get onto pie construction. You can see here I've got these nice enamel tins, these pie tins, which I got from the store. They're really good. Here I've got my filling. You can see it's been chilled now, and you can see how firm it is. It's really, really thickened up. That's going to be a perfect filling. All right, so what we're going to do is we need 1 egg, which we're going to crack, and we're going to beat it up. And now we get our pastry, which has been sitting in the fridge for half an hour. Spring it out. It's still going to be pretty pliable, and that's okay. You want that. And what we're going to do is bring it out. And what I like to do at this point is I cut it into 4. You know, and again, you can eyeball this because, you know, we're looking to create a pastry base that goes over the lip of those pie pans. So you don't have to cut it or weigh it exactly. And you can see here, I'm using a method here, just using the cup of my hand, and I'm creating a ball. Then I've got my little rolling pin. These rolling pins are great, actually. If you've got a big one, that's fine. But I like the little ones. They're just easier to maneuver. I use this one for when I'm making roti or anything like that, just because it's very, you know, it can get around the stuff quickly. And you can see I'm rolling this out to around about, it's going to be about 2 millimeters thick, to a point where you can sort of nearly see the bottom through it. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, once we've got that, then what we aim to do is we then get our pie tin, lift it up, and just place it over. And we're going to coax it into the pie tin. And just using your hands, and you just press around. We'd want to make sure that there's no air gaps in between the pastry and the actual lining of the tin. You know, and if you've got a little bit of pastry, break it off, and you can sort of use that to press in to the dough, and it will actually help to push it into place. This is an important step because the last thing you want to do is actually have, you know, any gaps in the shape of your pie crust. Okay, just give it a good press. There we go. All right, and then what we're going to do is we'll go do the others. All right, just finishing off this last one. And at this point, we're going to organise the filling. All right, here we go. So just fill them evenly right up to the top. I always like to press them in. There's nothing worse than getting a pie and it's, you know, it's only half full. I mean, that's not the Australian way. So you can see here, I've got the pie filling, you know, quite, you know, I've filled it as much as I can, almost up to the lip of the pie dish. Just using my spatula just to straighten it all out. All right, and now we come to doing the pie lids. It's pretty much the same deal. So cut it into 4, and then what we're going to do is roll it out. Probably the same thickness. It's always better to be consistent in these things. Again, it's like we're rolling it out so that it will cover the pie. There you go. That's how you want it to be. It's looking pretty good like that, actually. And as you can see, it is a really pliable dough. And you'll also notice we haven't had to put any flour down. So we're not adding any flour to the dough at this point, which is really an important thing to consider. Because the more flour you add, the drier it'll get. All right, so let's put this first one together for you. So got our beaten egg here, which we did earlier. And you're just going to get that. Just going to grab a pie, and then what we're going to do is we're going to put some egg wash just around the edge or the lip of the pie tin. By doing it this way also, you're making sure that you're not getting any egg on the actual pie tin itself. Okay, that's a good thing to consider. And once you've got that, then we grab the lid and just rest it over the top and then press it in with your thumbs. You can see how I'm just doing it in a circular motion here. And that just helps to seal the pie. Then get our knife and then just cut around the edge of the pie tin. This is why I like these enamel tins. It's like they're really durable and they can put up a bit of a beating. So just using that knife, get it around, and you can see it's all nice and clean. Put the pastry scraps to the side. You'll use them later for something else. And then just, I'm doing a little bit of country crimping here. There you go. And once it's all done, get the knife and then just make a little hole in the center. This is going to promote allowing steam to escape while it's baking, and also it stops it from bursting. So it's always good to have a little bit of an air vent in there. And then just using your beaten egg, cover over the pie, making sure to cover it all, like every bit of that pastry. Making sure not to get any extra beaten egg onto the pie tin itself. All right, so you can see that it's a pretty quick process. And at this point, what we're going to do is we want to put them in a 190 centigrade oven for about 40 minutes or until golden brown. And when they come out, they should look something like this. Now these are quite hot, so I would not recommend touching them at this point. They've just come out of the oven; they are bubbling hot. But as you can see, they are a good-looking pie. So now at this point, I've left them in the tins for around about a good 20 minutes at this point. And then what you can do is, being careful, because they are still quite hot, and you should be able to just lift it right out of the pan, and you can see right there, there's no soggy bottom. You've got all that browning on the bottom. It looks incredible. See how easily it turns when it comes out. And of course, what better way to have them with some homemade sausage rolls, which you can also find on my YouTube channel. Hope you enjoy, guys, and get cooking.